Coach, I hope you've had a great week, sir. Welcome into the game.
Right, I'm fine, and I want to hear about the parade.
It was awesome. It was awesome. It was it carried me back to my childhood in 1992. I thought so many times about you and all those players coming down with those 18-wheelers down University Boulevard. It was 40,000 Alabama fans, Coach, in Tuscaloosa.
Oh, man. Nowhere in the country but Alabama would that many people show up for a parade like that.
Yeah, and it was. And I shared I stopped a couple of times, Coach, and there was a couple of kids there, and they were yelling. It was right behind me, and I said, now you guys don't – because I didn't know what I was doing when I was a kid here in 92, but I looked back and I said, you guys will remember this for the rest of your life. And little kids were giving me a roll tide, but it was kind of fun to see them and to see all these, these fans just going crazy. It was a lot of fun to salute that team, Coach.
Well, I'm glad. I wish I could have been there myself and congratulate them. I hope you did it for me.
Oh, it was great. And Coach Saban stood up there and told us something. He said, we're not finished yet. So he said, there might be more coming. He motivated the team. He thanked the seniors for being a part of what they were able to do. But he made a statement, and he said, and we're not finished yet.
Well, they're not either. They've got a lot of good players coming back, and I know they have changed in the coaches, but as long as they have Coach Saban, I'm sure they'll be okay.
And, Coach, to give you an example, and I know we're a little football crazy here on the game, but we're 220 days away from Alabama and Louisville, and Vegas came out with an odds just a couple of days ago. They're already a 30-point favorite against Louisville, the opening game in Orlando with Alabama and Louisville. 30-point favorite in that game.
Well, I'm glad that Louisville's quarterback is gone. That's probably one of the reasons they're that big a favorite. But they had a quarterback that when he was playing well, he was extremely good. And I think he won the Heisman as a junior.
Yes, sir.
But I'm glad he's graduated.
Coach, I want to talk about several things with you. And I'm just going to ask you, being an NFL coach and like the senior –
Now say that again.
Being an NFL coach, being an NFL pro coach, this week the Senior Bowl is happening. And I got to thinking about, well, you can help us understand that transition from college to the NFL and scouting and all that. Did you enjoy scouting, Coach, and scouting players and seeing what they were like?
Well, I'll tell you this. When I was working for the Cowboys, we had a coaching staff that they didn't even want the coaches to be involved. They had a scouting staff. So I went to Coach Landry and I said, Coach Landry, we're missing a piece of the puzzle. I said, I can't tell you whether or not a defensive back is better than an offensive lineman or the offensive lineman's better than the quarterback. But I can tell you who is the best defensive back in the country, who's the second best defensive back in the country, and who's the third and fourth and so forth. Well, as a result of that, Coach Landry made the decision to let us go out, and so I enjoyed that part of the pro game. I probably enjoyed that as much as I did college coaching, to tell you the truth.
Well, what was it like? Because, Coach, you served on both roles. When you talk about NFL, calling college coaches and saying, hey, what do you think about player, so-and-so? Or on the college side, I'm sure you fielded a lot of phone calls from the NFL guys saying, hey, what do you think about George Teague? Or what do you think about Derek Lassick or whoever that was one of your players and sort of that communication?
Well, when I was a college coach and I was talking to a high school coach, I would ask the coach who said, now, are you doing me a favor by telling me about this prospect? Or are you doing the player a favor trying to get him a scholarship? There's a difference. I wanted somebody that was doing me a favor. And I did the same way when I was coaching in college and talking to the pro scouts. I would give them my honest evaluation of whether or not I felt like a guy could play. The bottom line, the very bottom line, if you are a good college player, then you have a good chance of being a good pro player.
And would it be like questions about practice or character or what kind of questions would they ask? Say, if they called up and said, hey, tell me about this particular player. What were they looking for?
First of all, they want to know, could he play? They wanted to know, was he good enough to play? And I'd coached pro ball for a while, and so they would want to know, was he good enough to make their team? And so I could answer that. I said, well, I don't know whether he could make your team, but when I was coaching in the pros, he could have made my team. So this just gives the coach that's asking those questions a little assurance on whether or not I thought somebody could play or whether or not I didn't think they could play.
Well, Coach, it had to give you an advantage when you had spent so many years in the pros. When you went and recruited a kid, a lot of kids dream of playing on Sunday afternoon, but you know what it takes to get to that next level. That had to be an advantage for you in recruiting and development, and obviously telling players that were currently on your roster to say, hey, I know what it takes to play on Sunday afternoon.
And no question about that, and that's the reason players, coaches and all really liked my players, because they knew that they were well schooled. They knew they were good people, and they were going to play as hard as they could. If they didn't make the team, they would make somebody an awfully good player.
We are talking with Coach Stallings right now, and inside the game, we're going to take phone calls. Phone lines are jammed up, and let's begin taking those phone calls right now. Let's go to Red, as always. First up with Coach Stallings. Red, good afternoon.
Good evening, Coach. It's always an honor to be able to talk to you. You make my day.
Well, Red, I look forward to you talking to you, and I look forward to you being the first on the show, too.
It's an honor for me, Coach. You sound so good, Coach. It's hard to believe just not long ago you went through all you went through. Sound real good.
I've had 2 strokes and a heart attack, and so the good Lord blessed me and let me live through it, and I'm enjoying every day. In fact, this afternoon I had a cow that had twin calves. She not only had one, but she had 2, had a black one and a white one. And
that's what you got in 1 week, ain't it?
That's right. So I'm one ahead.
I heard that. Well, that's great, Coach. Excuse me. Coach, I want to go back to when the Deuce, David Palmer, played for you.
All right.
Were you surprised at how great of a player he turned out to be, or did you see that from the beginning?
Well, let me tell you about David. I went to a high school game, and he played quarterback, played defensive back. He kicked off, kicked field goals, returned punts, returned kickoffs. He did everything you could ask a player to do. When he was playing quarterback, he never even went to the huddle. I don't know how they knew what the play was going to be. I wanted to ask that coach sometime, but he was an outstanding athlete, even in his high school days. So it was no question that he was going to be a good college player. He would have been a good college player at Tennessee, at Alabama, at Auburn, or wherever he went. Just so fortunately he went to Alabama, and what a great player he was.
Yes, sir. And see, right there, you just told us something that I'm sure a lot of us didn't know right there about David Palmer that you had already seen in him.
Yeah, he did it all when he was in high school. He really did.
Coach, was he the most athletic guy you ever coached?
Say that again.
Was he the most athletic player you've ever coached?
Yeah, I'd have to put him at the top of the list as being just an athlete. He could dunk a basketball. He could probably make the baseball team. He was just an all-around athlete, and he had a lot better speed than most people thought. And he was awfully hard to tackle. People just couldn't get a hands on him. He had that ability to make them miss him. We were playing Tennessee, and we put him in at the quarterback position. Had to go for 2, and everybody in the stands and on the field knew he was going to get the ball. Snapped the ball back to him, and I know 6 or 7 people slapped at him, but not a soul touched him. And we played him some at quarterback, but Jay Barker had an outstanding career at quarterback too. So I was blessed with having David Palmer.
Well, Coach, how's David doing nowadays?
Say that again.
How's the Deuce doing nowadays?
How's David Palmer doing, Coach?
Oh, he's doing good. I talk to him every once in a while, and he's helping coach, and he's making a contribution to society, and I'm extremely proud of David Palmer.
That's good, Coach. I appreciate that, and I always enjoy to talk to you, sir, and tell Miss Ruth Ann hello. Y'all have a blessed day, Coach.
I'll do it, and it's always good to talk to you, Red.
Coach, I'm just curious, before we go other phone calls here, how big of a debate was it in the coaches' meeting of where you wanted to play David Palmer? Because I could imagine everybody wanted him. Special teams guy wanted him. Defensive guy wanted him. Offensive guy wanted him. Was there a debate on maybe where to play David?
There was no debate. I made that decision.
I could only have guessed. I could imagine that was probably no debate either. It was, yes, sir, Coach, we got it.
That's right. But he could have played everywhere, to tell you the truth, but he was just an outstanding return guy. I think that's what he did in pro when he played for Minnesota. He returned punts.
Yeah, and he was dynamic. Let's go 205-342-9904. Chris in Mississippi. Good afternoon, Chris. You're on with Coach Stallings.
Good evening, Coach. It's a privilege and an honor to talk to you. And before I ask you my question, I just want to say I've been an Alabama fan for all my life. And first Alabama game I got to witness in person, I live over in Mississippi, is when y'all played Mississippi State back in 1992, man. It was kind of like a dream come true to get to see my Crimson Tide actually play in person. You were the man at the helm then, so it's an honor and privilege to talk to you, Coach.
Best I remember, we had a tough time in that game. Mississippi State always played Alabama extremely hard. A lot of players on Mississippi State's team were from the state of Alabama, and they wanted to prove us wrong but not give them a scholarship. So every time we played Mississippi State, it was a tough battle.
I can remember that. I got heckled really bad over there in the stadium that day because I was from Mississippi with a lot of Mississippi friends, but I was an Alabama fan, so I got a lot of heckling and beat down from the crowd for the colors I was wearing that day. But I was proud to wear them. My question for you, Coach, and Ryan's been talking about today on his radio show. We've kind of been debating what the greatest football play was in Alabama history. Now we gave a lot of talk and a lot of qualifying to the touchdown pass to us through the national championship game, but I wanted to ask you, do you recall like a certain play in your career as coach at the University of Alabama, one particular play that just kind of took your breath? It was such a great play. It kind of just something that stood out in your head and you put in your heart. I know y'all don't show a lot of feeling, a lot of emotion about big plays at the game, but I know y'all store those away and treasure them later. But is there any particular play that just stands out to you that you was like, wow, when you stepped away from it, that was a fantastic football play?
Well, obviously, when we were playing Miami and George Teague took the ball away from that player, that was an outstanding play. But also in that game, it was 4th and 2, and we went for it. And I guess the ball's on about the 42 or 43, and our fullback carried the ball and he made a first down, and that play really stands out in my mind as been one of the outstanding plays in my career.
Well, I appreciate you giving me time to talk to you and ask that. I mean, those were some great plays. That was a great game. That game was just littered with great plays, and I appreciate the time. I hope you're doing well and you stay in good health, and I look forward to your segment on Ryan's show every week. So roll tide to you, Coach. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
I appreciate you calling. Good to talk to you, my friend.
Coach, would that have been Martin Houston that made that play?
Yeah, that was Martin Houston. And that was a big play because if they'd have stopped us and carried it down, scored a couple of times, everybody would have said I should have punted, and I probably should have, but I had a lot of faith in Martin Houston. Our offensive line played extremely tough, and I think that was one of the key plays in the ball game, and very few people recognize that.
Well, obviously we have Martin as part of this station. He fills in for this show often. He tells us now, I don't know if you can back him up on this, but he said he never lost a yard negative play as a fullback. You believe that, Coach?
I do. I can't remember Martin ever. Of course, we just hit off tackle most time. He didn't run wide, and most people lose a little yardage when they run wide every once in a while. But when you run straight at him and you got guys that can block, and you got size and speed that Martin had, he's not going to lose many yards. So I can't ever remember him losing yards.
All right, let's go finally here to Pee Wee down in Grand Bay. Pee Wee, good afternoon. You're on with Coach Stallings.
Coach Stallings, how are you, sir?
Pee Wee, I'm doing fine. Thank you. It's a beautiful day, and I'm just glad to be alive, my friend.
Yes, sir. Coach, I got a question. This week, the NFL has come out and talking about getting into, or however they're going to do it, as far as people betting on NFL games, and the NFL taking 1% of all the bets that are made. What is your opinion about that? To me, that seems like a conflict of interest, but I was just curious of what your thoughts were on that.
Okay, now, give me that question again.
The NFL is talking about the way that people bet on NFL games.
Okay,
and I'm not sure if they're gonna sponsor something or how it's gonna work, but they're wanting to get 1% of all the bets that are made on NFL games every year.
So the league,
to me, that's just a bad decision.
The league would get 1% of all the bets across this country placed on an NFL game. Okay, I haven't heard of this, but I'm curious to hear Coach
What are
Stallings.
they going to do with the money?
They haven't said that.
Yeah, and I think it's a bad idea. I think it's a bad idea to bet on sporting events myself. I've never bet on one in my life, win, lose, or plus or minus, or win by so many points. I've never bet on a game. In fact, I don't know of anybody that's ever bet on a game, and obviously players, they don't bet on the game. So I don't think it's a good idea.
I was just curious about that because that caught me way off guard when they started talking about that at the beginning of the week. And I just didn't like it. To me, that's just a bad deal.
Yeah, I think it's a bad deal anytime you bet on athletic games anyway.
But, you were talking about one of the best plays. I used to work with a center of the National 92 team, Toby Shields. And he works for a tractor now.
Not only was he a good player, he's an outstanding person. He's doing a good job for Caterpillar also.
Yes, sir. He's the manager of the store down here in Spanish Fort, and I've talked to him several times over the course of years about playing for Alabama and playing for you, and he has nothing but great respect for you, sir.
Well, he was a center, and what a good one he was. But he was a better person than he was a player, and he was an outstanding player.
Well, Coach, we're glad that you're doing better, and we pray for you every day, buddy, and we love you.
I appreciate it, and thanks for calling. Have a good day, my friend.
Absolutely. Pee Wee in Grand Bay. Coach, let me end with this. And you always have a chance to talk about your former players, and whether it's be in the game of life or football or success and just the community, that has to make you feel proud as a coach to make that impact. A lot of them salute for what you were able to ingrain in them and be the person that they are. I mean, that has to be a proud moment as you look at players who played under you to go on and have a lot of success in the game of life.
That's a real joy that I got out of coaching. Seeing the player graduate, being successful in whatever field. In fact, I had a call from one of my former players, played pro ball for quite a while, big old tight end that lives there in the Birmingham area. He called me this morning just checking on me. And, just what a joy it is to hear from the players and know how successful most of them are.
No doubt. Coach, have a great week. Thank you, sir, for always being a part of our show.
Listen, I enjoyed it, and I wish I could have gotten a shot of that parade.
Hey, it was a lot of fun, and like I said, I was thinking about that 92 team that we had, and a lot of fun that we had on University Boulevard. I'll still say this, Coach: the parade that y'all pulled off at 92, by far the best. It was absolutely awesome.
Well, it was a good one. Good to talk to you, my friend.